Hello there, I am Fernando Elentor in the Something Awful forums, and this video is going to be about showcasing some of the generated ships. I'm going to try to offer some additional insights on the development process and some overall commentary. So it's just a chill video. Um, so let's jump right into it. We can either take a look at the ships through the shop, since I spawned them in the shop, or we can go to change ship, and even though this is your inventory, it also shows the ship available in the shop, just so you can compare it with what you have. Like for example, if I buy this, it's now in my inventory. Alright, so the first ship is the Spoonigoon, and you might recognize this as the originally it was the Underground Cooperative, um, and the reason why these two ships, the Underground Cooperative is a different ship now, it's because it's using the Empire algorithm for ship generation, while the Spoonigoon is using the the bug faction right now, but this is supposed to be the player custom ship, the ship with which you start the game. And all of these ships are using the Mining Guild naming convention, as you might have noticed, except for the Spoonigoon, which has a custom name. Like, I suppose this is a name that can be generated, but it wasn't, it's a custom name. But the reason why I started with the Mining Guild is because I hadn't figured out yet what to do for the Imperial ships at the time, the Imperial naming convention. And I had this a really fun idea for the Mining Guild. It was really fun to design the name generator, to be quite honest. I had a lot of fun. And from time to time you get to see some really interesting names. So yeah, this Spoonigoon has a lot of custom code and custom injection. In case you haven't seen this in the thread, you can take a look at how the ship behaves. In these panels you can see how the guns are going to behave in it rather. And yes, you can spin it around and play with it in the ship review. You can also maximize it, so you can take a closer look at the ship. It's really soothing. Now, one of the first features I made in the shop, which not available in this demo yet, but it was the ability to have the same ship increase in item level, or rather ship level. And I coded in the ship generator these functions so that the ship gains more details and doodads and greebles as you are increasing the ship level. And overall, this is really cool, at least for me. Like the first time I saw it in action, I was really happy about it. There's something interesting about seeing like the same ship evolving and changing over time. Now, you might notice a little bit of an offset when we change the ships. And the reason for that offset is because as detail is added, the ship size, first the ship size increases, and the ship size is normalized so it doesn't get out of control. A bigger ship will still be bigger, but it will be less bigger than the generator originally came up with. So the ship size is increasing and the ship is being scaled back. Also, the generator tries to find the center of mass of the ship, and as you can see, these ships they differ a lot, even between just these two. This extra detail here and here makes the ship vertically bigger than the previous iteration, so it has this weird offset. In the future, I plan to make it so the ship size and offset is based on the base model before all this extra greeble is added. just so you can compare the ships and see the ship evolving if you want, without having the center of mass change. This is not really a big issue, just something, one of the perks of the current generator. The Underground Cooperative is the first ship that I got to see generated by the Imperial algorithm. You might notice that the previous algorithms did not generate wings. Even though I had modeled them, I was not using the wings parts. And the Underground Cooperative was the first model I saw using all of those parts. Like I said, it has the same seat as the Spunikun, so it was the first ship I saw. I ended up tweaking the Imperial algorithm a lot since, but it's interesting because every little action in the algorithm changes the ships radically, but the Underground Cooperative never changed much. It's an interesting perk of this ship in particular. Yeah, this is a weird ship. I've seen all of those ships in this list before, so this is not a blind run of the shopping list. But I almost decided against keeping this ship, but then I realized, yeah, it's an ugly ship, but it's part of the generator. I should not be cherry picking them. I like most of the ships generated, so there is really no reason to hide the ugly ones. This is a ship design I really like. It's very generic, very bland, but I think this is a very important part of the ship generator, is being able to create these very simple, very minimalistic designs. Otherwise, it's very easy to make wacky, crazy sort of looking ships, like abstract shapes. It's really easy. It's a little harder to get ships to look like this. And this is a fun ship as well. I like the weapon distribution. I'm not gonna go over how the ship stats are in this video, because these ships will probably change a lot before even the first public alpha. And again, there are billions of ships, so you might never see any of these, but I like this ship overall, the design. This is a weird ship. While this ship looks like it could have been designed by someone, I'll be honest, this is the kind of ship that I would not have thought on my own. Like, it has these very dynamic, very cool looking diagonal wings, and at the same time it has these metal blocks, and this mohawk over there. It's interesting because I think the original reason why I wrote the ship generator, I wasn't thinking of making a game with it, even though I had a shmup in mind before. So the two kind of, fit together. But the original reason is because I was thinking about it'd be interesting to make a tool that would assist me coming up with designs for ships. So this is the kind of this is the kind of stuff that I wanted, right? Something unusual, but that can be worked. Like, I like how these metal block and these wings are intertwined, and while this ship in particular does not look good, I think it has the potential of looking good if I were to draw on top of it and play with it. Yeah, this is a strange design. This is also another strange design. A lot of these asymmetrical ships with these things back there, they look kind of weird. But and this is something that is very easy to fix. Like, if I wanted, I could make these ships a lot more symmetrical. But I think it would significantly lose the charm of finding a really cool looking ship. Also, this ship doesn't make any sense, and I really like that. I like this chunk of metal in front of the cockpit. Yeah, this is another very generic ship, but it's also one that grew on me because first time I saw it, and I was like, yeah, it doesn't really look that great. But over time, I realized that that's the charm. It's I struggled. Well, I didn't struggle too hard, but it was the entire point of the algorithm was to make something that could look like it was designed by someone. And this is one of the first seeds that where I saw that. So it kind of serves its purpose. This ship, on the other hand, it almost looks like it could be a very generic ship, but then it looks corrupted in a weird way, like these parts started growing on it. This is one of my favorite ships. I like everything about it. Yeah, even the way the weapons work looks cool, but I like how it has these quasi landing gear down there. It looks like something that could work if it wasn't for this metal chunk here. But this looks like some landing gears and all these metal blocks they fit together. You might notice that this gribble here is floating, and that's because all of the parts in the ships they are kind of randomly offset during the generation process. So to avoid the fighting, which is something that happens when two parts are occupying the same space at the same time, and of course these two parts are pretty far apart from each other, but sometimes parts like these end up coupled together, and you'll see what I mean later on. Yeah, this is a beautiful weird ship. I could never really form an opinion about it. So, like I said, it wasn't much of a struggle to make a generator that could generate ships like this and this, but it it is a bit of a struggle to make a generator that can only generate generic ships. And I think and I'm very satisfied with the result right now. I like that there are all sorts of crazy stuff going on. Like this ship has a very peculiar silhouette when seen from above, and I prefer it like that. But it's funny because ultimately making a generator that can only create very traditional looking ships, well, you're either gonna have a lot less variations or you're gonna have a very hard time making it. So yeah, it's easy getting to this point. It's a bit harder to go past it, but I don't think it's necessary to go past it because if the generator can only output very generic ships, very traditional ships, then there is really no point to it, right? It has to be able to generate all sorts of wacky stuff from time to time for it to be interesting. This is a design that I really like. This design looks like it could have been drawn by someone. It's just a really good design. I like this antenna here as well. Everything about this design uh, makes me happy. Like the way that this is a single part, connects with these parts, and this is a single block, and this part over there is a separated piece, and as you can see, it's symmetrical. So the fact that this part here connects with it is just a happy coincidence. Yeah, I really like this design. It also looks great from top view. Overall, I'm really happy when I see designs that look like it could have been drawn by someone. Yeah, this on the other hand is just a busy ship. Not really one of the, I know someone might like it, but it's not my cup of tea. Again, something that I like about all of these ships and is that they have very distinct silhouettes. Even this one has a very distinct silhouette, which was my original intention behind the ship generator, make silhouettes. If you saw one of my latest chapters, you saw that I designed ships first by drawing their silhouettes, and then I fill in the blanks. So even though I don't like how this ship actually looks, I do like its silhouette. This is a good looking ship. Not much to talk about it. It's a fun looking ship. I like how it has these wings, and again, very easily recognizable silhouette. It's a very fun looking ship. This is a great design. I was really happy when I saw this one. Again, very easily recognizable silhouette. Something that I could have thought on my own, but it would have taken me a while doodling. Like, I like how it has these arms. It has a very, very unique design. It also looks like something that you could print in 3D and have it around. It just looks really cool. Little bit of a very thin ship, very elongated design. Not a huge fan of it. You might see that these ships have different ship classes, like this is a corvette and this is a destroyer. Um, these are just the size multipliers at the moment. I mean, there are stat multipliers and size multipliers, but they're not using different algorithms because they're all using the fighter algorithm. I was just testing how these ships would behave, because they would be tankier and slower, and for the most part you're only going to be playing with fighters, and not all basic ships from the factions are fighters, and there are some factions with very more than one common ship class drop, but destroyers and stuff like that are not going to be very common. Still, it's kind of fun to play with a massive ship from time to time. Yeah, this is my favorite ship of the bunch. This is definitely my favorite. Like, the moment I saw this one, I was so happy with how the algorithm was doing. This is one of those designs that I look at it and I get afraid of touching the algorithm because it might not generate this anymore. There's not much I can talk about. It just looks like a really fun ship. Like these doodads here, they kind of look like they could have been engines. The wing layout looks great. Just looks really fun. Also, yeah, it has a really fun weapon setup too. These are all from 3 weapons, right? I can disable weapon projection and you will only see the equipped weapon, or I can let it project the weapons and you can see all the bassin slot weapons and how it would behave. All of these ships in this list, they were generated very fast. Like I'm looking at the console log right now, they all took 3.6 seconds to generate, like all of these ships. So the generator right now is really fast, and that makes me really happy as well. Yeah, this peculiar design gives me a bit of a 2001-ish vibe, not sure why. A lot of these ships have these vertical wings, and like this one, for example, it looks a bit ugly and I could get rid of it, but it would also make like these ships back there, these wings back there are less likely to appear, and I like it in a way. Like I said, it would be an ongoing effort to make our ships look pretty, but I do like how some of them just look weird. I think that's half the point. This ship is one of my favorites. The moment I saw this ship, like the design looks so cool. It just looks so great. And then I saw it in 3D. Like the first time I saw this ship, I had not coded these perspective viewer here where you can play with it. I just saw it from the top view. So it looks like a cool ship, but it also looks a bit generic. And then the first time I saw it here, I was like, oh, so it has an elongated cockpit, like not elongated, elevated cockpit. And it was a really cool because I didn't imagine it would look like this. So I got really happy about that. I started thinking about how players are gonna see all of these ships and they have these silhouettes from above, but then you start spinning it around and you see it's something completely different. Also, this ship kind of forced me to go back to this cockpit model here because this cockpit model didn't have a bottom exactly. Like the idea was that it would sit on top of something like it's doing right here, but that block would occupy all of its bottom. And sometimes that wasn't the case, like this one. So I went back and played around with it a little bit. Really like this ship. A bit of a weird design. Looks nice from the top, even though you can't see the cockpit. I like how these parts here look like engines. This is a happy coincidence though. There are engine models that I have not implemented yet. It's crazy to think I modeled these parts like a year ago, and I still haven't gotten around to implement all of them in the algorithms because it's a bit of a slow process. Like since I'm making a game, I go around and play test them, and I also, since there are two types of items, there are the armor plates and the energy generator, I was like, maybe I could make custom engine models for the generator and have the item physically appear on your ship. That would be cool. I still haven't decided on that yet because I'll do it next month when I'm done with the interface and I focus entirely on the ship generator. Put the final touches and see if it's easy to do that in a way that fits the overall architecture of the game. Another one of these ships with the asymmetrical wing in the back. There are a lot of designs similar to this one. They kind of grow on me because I think they give the Imperial ships a bit of a personality and flavor that's different from the ships that were previously generated by the player faction. Regular design, not much to talk about. Oh, this is a design I like. This is I like how this part over here kind of looks like the bridge of a Star Destroyer, and overall I think this could be a nice if this cockpit was instead just a metal chunk, a single block. It could look like a pretty neat capital ship, but I like this design. Also looks cool from above. You can see here in the weapon mounts how the weapons work. Like for example, let me disable the projection, and it shows that the current weapon has 4 different mounts and it's alternating between them. Since we're seeing them alternating between 2, I imagine that they are vertical, like they're on top of each other. This one shoots from two weapon slots simultaneously, and this one alternates between them as well. So you get all of these cool effects just from 3 weapons. I like this part over here. Like if this was a bigger ship, which you can see it's not because of the cockpit giving you a sense of scale. I like to imagine that this is like a hallway or a corridor, or a place you can go out to inspect the ship, and I don't know, my imagination kind of goes wild. Oh, I really like spaceships, right? Yeah, this here is what I was talking about. This here is the Z fighting. It's when you can see this part is symmetrical to this one, so they have an overlapping area, and this overlapping area, the video card doesn't know which polygon to render since they're occupying the same place. So it keeps fighting between them, and it's called Z fighting because it's fighting on the Z axis relative to the camera. Can't really see it from above or anything. And when you're dealing with something that's copying and pasting, like for example this part here, the random offset worked enough to make the Z fighting stop. Alright, the last ship of the bunch. This is a really fun looking ship. It's got this bulky design, it's a bit different from the others. This ship looks like really cool, and this is one of those ships that made me glad that I made the ship review panel where you can spin it and see around. But it just looks cool from above as well. Like it looks strong. It looks like a tough ship. But when you take a look at it from the side, it just looks like heavy. So yeah, this is pretty much it. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you liked watching all those spaceships. I know some of you guys are really excited about the ship generator, and I hope you had fun. Thank you very much for watching, and see you around.